Welcome to the Department of Collegiate and Technical Education and also Department of Mechanical Engineering. My name is Muniraju K. Muniraju K. I'm working as Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Government Engineering College, Ramanagara. My subject is metal casting and welding. In that metal casting and welding subject, my teaching is Model 5, soldering, brazing, gas welding, and metallurgical aspects in welding. That is Model 5. So initially I will list out some course objectives. First one is to understand the principles involved in brazing and soldering process. Second one, to get enrich about an non-destructive inspection methods. Third one, to classify different welding defects with its features. Contents: introduction, formation of different zones in welding, structure of welds, heat affected zone, effect of carbon content on structure and properties of steels, shrinkage in welds. So first stating formation of different zones in welding. You can see the diagram. Okay, different zones also it is drawn. So during welding, when the heat interacts with the workpiece material, the flow of temperature in a different or in materials varies from region to region, resulting in three distinct regions or zones. They are the fusion zone, heat affected zone, and unaffected base metal zones. Okay, the diagram you can see the weld bead. On the weld bead, it is called fusion zone. So near to the fusion zone, that dotted lines, you can see that dotted area, that is called heat affected zone. Heat affected zone is always very near to the fusion zone. So apart from fusion zone and heat affected zone, so after the heat affected zone, this is called base metal zone. So these are all different zones in welding. We will take a first one, fusion zone. Fusion zone is the weld metal itself. I told already, it is on the weld metal or it is welded area, fusion zone. More specifically, it is the region where the molten metal of filler rod combines with the molten metal of workpiece to form a weld. The fusion zone can be considered similar to the casting process. In casting process, molten metal is converted into solid metal. We're going to pour molten metal to the designed shape, and we're going to allow it for solidification. In the same way, here also, the molten metal of base plate 1, base plate 2, and filler rod combines and converted into solid part or cools into solid part, wherein the workpiece metal reaches the molten state and then allowed to cool. Hence, the metal in the fusion zone as basically a cast structure with microstructure reflecting the cooling rate in the weld. The properties of fusion zone depends primarily on the filler metal used and its compatibility with the workpiece material. Okay, microstructure is depends on filler rod metal and workpiece metal combination or compatibility. Okay. Next zone 2, heat affected zone, HAZ. It is simply called as HAZ, heat affected zone. The fusion zone is surrounded by HAZ. The fusion zone is surrounded by heat affected zone. The portion that was not melted, the portion or the area which is not melted but subjected to the elevated temperatures for a brief period of time. Subjected to a elevated temperatures for a brief period of time, that is called heat affected zone. The area which is heat is whatever you called uh, heat is not contacted, but it is subjected to the elevated or some temperatures. That area is called heat affected zone. As a result, these portions experiences changes in its microstructure and mechanical properties. The extent and the magnitude to which the changes occur depend primarily on the type of base metal and the amount of concentration of heat input at the giant. The metal in this area often weaker than the both base metal and weld metal, and it is also where the residual stresses are found. Residual stresses are found. The residual stresses, these are the stresses which retains the weld metal when the external forces are removed. That is called the residual stresses. Zone 3. Next is zone 3. This is called base metal zone. Base metal zone is portion around the heat affected zone, which remains unaffected as it was not heated sufficiently to change its microstructure. This is the normal area in the welded plate or welded area, because it is not changes and it is changes its microstructure, not changes its microstructure, because due to amount of heat passed is less. That is called base metal area. Next, structure of welds. So structure of weld. So diagram is there. You can see the diagram. Fusion zone area, grains, microstructural changes, columnar grains. Okay, equi-axed grains here, workpiece, and heat affected area, HAZ, heat affected area. In heat affected area or in HAZ, the grain shape of the grains is coarse grains. But in fusion line, it is columnar, long columnar grains, and it is started at the end of, sorry, edge of fusion line, and it is moved towards the center of fusion area or welded area. Structure of welds. During the welding, a small portion at the edges of the workpiece, that is fusion zone, will be melted, followed by immediate and fast cooling of the molten metal. Hence, the microstructure development in this region depends on solidification behavior of molten metal. The solidification process is similar to that in casting and begins with the formation of columnar or dendrite grains. So the below diagram, it is shown grains, the shape of the grains is shown, or structure of grains are shown. The grain structure in deep weld, it is shown in grain structure in a deep weld. Along the fusion line, the growth rate is low, while the temperature gradient is steepest. Along the fusion line, the growth rate is slow, while the temperature gradient is steepest. Because temperature heat input is more, the growth rate is low. Grain growth rate is low. Okay. Grains appear at the line of the fusion as the weld center line is approached. The growth rate increases while the temperature gradient decreases. Growth rate increases while the temperature gradient decreases. Consequently, the microstructure that develops varies noticeably from the edge to the center line of the weld. The grains formed are relatively long and parallel to the heat flow. Initially, I told, so, along the fusion line, it is long and parallel to the heat flow. The grain structure in the size depends on type of welding process employed, filler metal used, and alloy or base metal being melted. Grains size depends on type of welding and the filler metal or electrode used, and the base metal being melted. Adjacent to the portion of weld metal that is in the heat affected zone. That is heat affected zone. Adjacent to the portion of weld metal, the area is called heat affected zone. A coarse grains are formed as a result of overheating. A coarse grains are formed as a result of overheating. The grain growth will cause this portion to brittle, thereby making it weakest portion in the weld metal. You can see the grain growth, that is coarse grains are formed. So this makes that area, HSZ area is brittle and weakest. Okay, in the diagram you can see, okay, you can see the coarse grains, the long grains, okay, HCZ and fusion line. This is called structure of weld. Next we'll take up heat affected zone. So I told heat affected zone is a brittle and weakest. Okay, so welding makes use of intense heat to melt the edges of the workpiece material being joined. Welding make use of intense, the amount is more heat to melt the base metal edges. But during welding, the portion of base metal adjacent to the edges being joined also gets heated to varying temperature. As a result, these portions experiences changes in its microstructure and mechanical properties. The extent and magnitude to which the changes occur depends primarily on the type of base metal and the amount and the concentration of heat input at the joint. Okay, this microstructural and mechanical properties changes is depend on the extent, magnitude to which changes occur depends primarily on the type of base metal. Base metal, which base metal? Steel, iron, so what and etc. Whatever may be the type of base metal, and amount and concentration of heat input or amount of heat supplied to the joint. Thus, the heat affected zone can be defined as that portion of base metal which has not been melted but whose microstructure and mechanical properties have been altered by the heat of welding. The heat affected zone is often the weakest part in the welded metal because it neither possesses the properties of the base metal nor that of solidified weld metal. Consequently, heat affected zone forms the reason for most of the failures in the welded joint. However, the heat affected zone can be reduced by controlling the few parameters which are described below. First one is thermal diffusivity. Thermal diffusivity. Thermal diffusivity of the base material plays a major or large role. If the diffusivity is high, the material cooling rate will be high, and hence the heat affected zone will be relatively small. Low diffusivity leads to slower cooling and a larger heat affected zone. Next one is heat input. Heat input process like oxy-fuel welding, electroslag welding, and etc. use high heat input, thereby increasing the size of the heat affected zone. So some welding methods or welding process like oxy-fuel welding, electroslag welding uses high heat energy. So this increases heat affected area. Whereas process like laser welding and electronic beam welding gives a highly concentrated and limited amount of heat, resulting in small heat affected zone. Some process like laser welding and electronic beam welding, heat energy is less. So heat that heat affected area is also less. Arc welding falls between these two extremes with individual process like TIG, tungsten, gas welding, SAW, submerged arc welding, and etc. Varying these somewhat in heat input. So some process like TIG welding and SAW welding, so falls between these two. Okay, not high HAZ area or not low, very low HAZ area. So between this process. Next heat affected but causes reason is welding zone. Sir, welding speed. Welding speed. Slow welding speed. Slow heating causes low cooling rates and a large heat affected zone. That means that if the welding speed is low, the formation of HAZ is more. Next heading is effect of carbon content on structure and properties of steel. Steel is most widely used material in the welding compared to other materials. Steel is most widely used material in the welding compared to other material. Steel may be defined as refined pig iron or an alloy of iron and carbon. Various elements like sulfur, manganese, phosphorus, and etc. are added to the steel in order to impart the properties like hardenability, strength, hardness, weldability, wear resistance, and etc. So the steel is a refined form of pig iron, or it is alloy of iron and carbon. So various elements are added to the steel to impart mechanical properties or to increase the mechanical properties like hardenability, strength, hardness, and weldability and wear resistance. The added elements are sulfur, manganese, phosphorus. Of all constituents, carbon is the most ingredient in the steel because of its direct effect on the physical properties of the steel. Welding involves the steel. So next heading is shrinkages in welding. Next heading is shrinkages in welding or welds. Welding involves highly localized heating of metals being joined together. Highly localized heating of metals being joined together. During welding, when the weld metal is deposited, the base metal is heated and thus it expands. But on the cooling, the base metal plus weld metal shrinks. It obvious that shrinkage of welded joints is far greater than the expansion. Shrinkage of welded metal is far greater than the expansion. The shrinkage in turn introduces residual stresses, distortion, which is major problem in the welding. Shrinkage is an inherent property of any material and hence cannot be prevented, but it can be controlled. There are various methods that can be used at design stage or in welding shops to minimize the effects caused by shrinkage. This includes do not over weld, shrinkage, okay, longitudinal shrinkage, transverse shrinkage, angular shrinkage. Like a cloth, the material also going to shrink. Okay, these are the inherent properties of the any material, so it cannot be prevented. It can be controlled by various methods, which includes first one is do not over weld. You should not over weld. That means the more metal placed in the joint, the greater is the shrinkage forces. The shrinkage is because of the forces. Okay. if we supply more heat energy or weld metal, greater is the shrinkage forces, and hence use of joint preparations avoids the excessive gap, thereby requiring least amount of weld metal. Okay, that as maybe diagram is there. We'll see the diagram. So first one, avoid over weld. First diagram you can see. So thickness, required thickness, they shown. So excess weld is there. This is excess weld. In here also, the thickness is this one, thickness of the base metal, this one. So more than the base metal, weld bead is there. So over weld, this is called over weld. Okay, to avoid this, so we need to prepare the joints, proper joint preparations like U shape, V shape, two joints of the base metal or joints of the joints which are going to join our sides. We're going to join that we need to prepare the according to the design like V shape, U shape, or 30-degree angle, 60-degree angle. Okay, so to avoid overweld, right joint will gives this less weld. Next point is B. Use intermittent welding. Use intermittent welding. Another way to minimize the weld metal is to use intermittent welding rather than continuous welding. So if you do continuously welding without stopping, so from first end to last end, so it creates the shrinkage forces. So in diagram maybe you can see. So B, see one welding point, second welding, third welding, intermittent welding. Okay, so it avoids shrinkage forces. Next point is use a few weld pass as possible. Few weld pass as possible. That means one pass, one time welding from one end to other end, one pass. So if the thickness is less, we're going to do next another pass, second pass. Still thickness is less, we're going to do third pass. Okay, avoid number of passes as possible as. If one pass is enough, the shrinkage is less. Second pass, the shrinkage forces are more. Okay, the fewer passes with large electrodes are preferable to greater number of passes with small electrodes, which helps to minimize the shrinkages. In the diagram, you can see that one. Third one, pour due to overpass. See, minimum number of passes. So, minimum number of passes. Single pass maybe. Here 2-3 passes. Next D is place welds near neutral axis. Attempts regarding to placing the welds near neutral axis should be done at the design stage. Okay, you can see the diagram, you can understand. Neutral axis. So this is neutral axis. Maybe at the exactly center, weld near neutral axis. Poor weld, because it is not on the new center. It is pure weld design. Center, exactly center. So it is good weld design. Next one is E. Balance welds around the neutral axis. In this practice will balance one shrinkage force against other, thereby minimizing the distortion of the weld. Distortion is nothing but shrinkages, shrinkaging the or dimensional changes. Actual to final, before welding, after welding, the welded part going to changes its dimension and shape. That is called distortion. Okay, it is one another form of that shrinkage only. So we need to balance the shrinkage forces. In diagram, you can see balancing the weld near neutral axis. Okay, so good weld design. neutral axis. Here pure pure welded design. Next, F, balance shrinkage forces with opposing forces. Pre-bend, as shown in the diagram, bending, you're going to fix the fixtures. Okay, clamps, you use to clamp the welded part. Before welding, we're going to bend. We're going to bend the welded part and you're going to fix here using fixtures or clamps. Okay, and once that bending is over, you're going to do the welding. Once the welding process is completed, you're going to release this clamping. So it will return to its original shape. Pre-bending, this is called pre-bending operation. So make use of opposing the mechanical forces to counteract distortion due to the shrinkage effect. Clamps, jigs, or fixtures may be used to hold the workpiece until the welding is completed. When the clamps are released, the plates return to its flat shape, allowing the weld to relieve its shrinkage stresses. Next one is removing shrinkage forces after welding. One method involves peening or hammering of weld metal with blunt round edge that will cause weld bead to stretch and make it thinner, thereby relieving the stress induced by shrinkage. But in peening may cause damage to the weld metal and hence has to be used in special cases. That peening method it is like a destructive method to relieving the stresses, shrinkage forces. Okay, so it may harm the final product. So it's not preferable. Only some special cases we're going to use. Another method is thermal stress relieving or heat treatment technique, wherein controlling heat of weld metal to elevated temperatures is followed by controlling or controlled cooling. Sorry, it's a controlled cooling. The residual stresses that would tend to distort the weldments are thus minimized. It is exactly heating and controlled cooling. You're going to heat at a required temperature. After that, the cooling will be whatever the controlled, step by step. Slowly, you're going to cool that one. This is called heat treatment. Maybe best example is annealing. Annealing process is the best example for this heat treatment or heat treatment stress relieving process. Next one is minimize weld time. Minimize weld time. It is desirable to finish the weld quickly before large volume of surrounding metal heats up and expands. This helps to minimize the shrinkage effects. So these are all the diagrams to avoid shrinkages in welding. So the session 1 in module 5, metallurgical aspects in welding, soldering, brazing, and gas welding. Session 1 is finished. So I'm going to stop here. So I will meet you in session 2.